What is going on with my hair? Okay. We're just gonna have crazy hair. Okay. Ayukui Neknamalita, and this is my channel, The Midnight Librarian, and today I will be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I feel like this tag doesn't really need a whole lot of explanation. A lot of booktubers do it every year. I've been doing it every year since I've been on booktube. And essentially it's just a mid-year check-in. I do have another video that I would like to do, but I probably won't be doing it until after I get back from vacation. So I won't be talking about like just how many books I've read yet this year, or like, you know, I'm basically checking in on my goals for the year. That's going to be a separate video. So otherwise, this is just the mid-year book freakout tag. I'm getting my questions from Kayla from Books and Lala. I like her take on the mid-year book freakout tag. She adds questions of her own, as well as from Allie from Allison Pages. Both of them I've watched and I enjoyed their takes on the mid-year book freakout tag. I will leave the original creators of the tag down in the description down below if I can find them. It's been around for years, so go ahead and get into it. How is your reading going? I feel like there are a couple of bangers this year that I have been really enjoying, and there's been a couple of just duds. And then everything else just kind of feels like I enjoyed it for the most part. It was okay. Like a couple in the good, a couple in the bad, and a lot in the it's okay. Best book you've read so far in 2023. I have a couple of books for this. The first one that comes to mind is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. I'm not going to go into the synopsis of these because I've talked about them a lot. Yeah, you know where to find it, the synopsis, right? But this one I just really enjoyed. It's a witchy, no, it's more of like a cozy witchy mystery with the romance in it. The audiobook for this was really great. I highly encourage you to read it. But the story itself was just really sweet, and I've been like searching for something with these same vibes ever since, and I haven't hit it yet. So this one is at the top tier for me. It's one of my favorites of this year. The next one I don't have a physical copy of yet, but that is His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. This is the first book in the Temeraire series, which I have talked about a lot if you haven't been here for more than a couple of seconds. I am currently on book 4 of this series. It's a 9-book series, but His Majesty's Dragon was just really captured me, and after reading that one I got real excited. Usually when it comes to bigger series, particularly anything more than like 2 or 3, I get really hesitant to want to pick them up because that feels like a big commitment. But this book, the series, really got me excited for it. This book in particular made me excited for this series, so I am super excited to continue on with it. Yeah, I've been having fun with it. So, best sequel you've read so far in 2023. This one does not have multiple answers. This one is just going to be The Throne of Jade, the second book in the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik. We are continuing on with the great world building that I loved in the first one. I'm still excited about it. It still feels like, I would have to say that a lot of the first books in a series I enjoy the first book of, because it's that world building, we're getting introduced, it's that like ooh ah, like excited going on a new adventure type interaction essentially. And so far with the Temeraire series, like the books that have come after the first one, I've been just as excited about, because we're still learning with Captain William Lawrence, our main character, and his dragon Temeraire. I was really pleasantly surprised and excited when The Throne of Jade, when that came about. Like, even though I got a warning saying it was going to be a little slower than the first one, I was still very much excited and still very much into it because we were still learning and still exploring. So favorite reread. I don't know that I have reread anything this year. No, I lie. I have. Was that this year or was that last year? Nope, I have not reread anything this year. So I have not reread anything. This is not something that I tend to do very often. I'm gonna have to reread The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches at some point, just because nothing else is matching up to it at this point in time. So I feel like that's something I'm gonna have to reread. For some reason, rereading to me is a pain in the butt, because I tend to think that, oh, I already have read this book, why would I read it again type deal. But there are a couple of books, for instance this one, that I just want to have that feeling again. There's also a couple books in a series that I would like to continue with that I kind of forgot what was going on that I would like to reread. So we'll see if we get to those this year. genre you've been loving / reading the most this year. For that, I'm gonna have to look at my sheets. So I do use a book tracker. It's the book tracker that Allie from Hardback Hoarder created. I paid $5 for it. It works really well. I really enjoy it. I love the updates and the effort and everything that she's put into here. I've been using her book trackers for a while, a couple years now, and this one is so far like my favorite. And I'm sure this has to do a lot with the Temeraire series, but the genre that I'm reading from the most this year is fantasy. And for this is a little surprising to me. I've always said that I'm not that big of a fantasy reader because I feel like the fantasy is going to go over my head, that I'm not smart enough to go along with it. The same goes with sci-fi for a lot of reasons, or a lot of the same reasons. But I'm realizing more and more that I'm actually very much into fantasy. So yeah, a fantasy is a large portion of what I'm reading this year. It is almost a quarter of what I'm reading this year at 23.7%. And shortly after that is horror, which I thought I kind of like read out of for a little bit. Like I thought my mood for that was done since, because I've been on a horror kick since like Summerween of last year. Like there was a small stint there where I wasn't feeling horror, but now I'm back into it again. So new release you haven't read yet but want to. I have a couple of them on my July TBR actually, so if you haven't checked that out, it's up here, but I'll talk about them here. So the first one is To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monakil Blackgoose. This is indigenous dragon writing that I'm really excited about because I feel like everyone, or at least there's a couple of us in the booktube community that are like really into dragons right now. I blame Fourth Wing for that, but also there's a couple of us that were kind of collecting dragon type books before Fourth Wing came out, but this one in particular I'm really excited about because it's dragon writing from an indigenous perspective. How can I not? So yeah, that's one that I have that I want to get to that recently came out. This one also recently came out that I've been hearing mixed reviews about, but I have yet to spoil myself for it. So I don't know why exactly folks haven't been liking it or have been liking it, but I hope to figure it out for myself here shortly. And that is episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. This is like a haunted house, ghost hunters type thing. So I talk about them both more, like I said, in my July TBR if you want to go check that out. Another one I would like to get to is Dragonfell by L.R. Lamb. It would be my second L.R. Lamb that I would be reading. Another dragon writer. It's another dragon book. I wouldn't call it a dragon rider book because from what I understand, dragons are now kind of revered as gods after almost being killed to extinction. They don't forget, and they have to, this one particular dragon has to kill someone, but in order to kill them or get close to them, they have to earn trust, etc. So gorgeous cover. Love this. That's it for now. Of course, there's others I would love to read, but that's it for now. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So last year I did a most anticipated videos every quarter, or almost every quarter. I didn't do it for the winter just because I wasn't feeling it at that point. I'm not sure why, but I had just decided not to. It felt like too much effort to do it this year, and I kind of wanted to like push myself to, I don't know, do other videos, but I may do something similar next year. We'll see. But this year there's a couple of anticipated books. The first one is How Can I Help You by Laura Sims. This is a serial killer type book where we are following a person who used to, this woman who used to be a nurse and did like mercy killings where she just randomly killed patients, and to kind of curb her need to kill these patients, she has changed professions and is now a librarian. However, one of her coworkers has found her out as she finds a murdered patron in a bathroom. So that's all I really know about it. That's all I really want to know about it. This comes out July 18th. I don't have it pre-ordered yet, but I have put it on my library's radar because we thought it was really funny and to get books about librarians. So the next one that I'm really excited for, but I'm like nervous excited for, is Whalefall by Daniel Kraus. This is a scientifically accurate thriller about a scuba diver who gets swallowed by an 80-foot, 60-ton sperm whale and has 1 hour to escape before oxygen runs out. The cover is gorgeous. The premise freaks me out. This is like the number one reason why I'm afraid of oceans and the movie Pinocchio. So another one I'm super excited for. I'm not sure if it comes out this year or not. I thought I saw something that said it does, but now I'm not getting that information on Goodreads now. But it's Never Whistle at Night, an Indigenous dark fiction anthology edited by Shane Hawk and Theodore C. Van Alst Jr. Shane Hawk did Anoka, which I read a couple of years ago and really enjoyed. And essentially this has a bunch of different contributors: Tommy Orange, Nick Medina, Rebecca Roanhorse, David Heska Wandley Wyden, like some that I've read from before, others I haven't heard of, Tiffany Morris, Conley Lyons. Ooh, there's Darcy Littlebadger. I wasn't aware of that. I actually haven't looked at these. But basically it's Native Hawaiians to Native Mexicans, about the survival and imagination and celebration of Indigenous peoples and the glorious reveling in all things an ill-advised whistle might summon. So I'm super excited for it. Biggest disappointment, I would have to say for sure that Axe Hex is my biggest disappointment for this year. Erin Sterling. I know this was the book of the month pick a year or two ago, and I vaguely remember Jan from Giant Agathon reading it, but I don't remember what her review about it was. But I read this thinking that it was another witchy, cozy type story that would give me same feels as the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. However, I disliked this book immensely. It was all vibes, no plot. There was a plot. It kept kept straying away from it just for the romance. That was really just sexual tension. Vivi and Reese were just, anytime they got together, anytime they were in the same scene together, it was just a constant of what they would do to each other if they were able to. It was just insufferable, really. But it was not what I was there for. To me, it was the lack of connection between the characters. It was Halloween Town vibes with the smut ramped up like wholeheartedly. And I get that it's for some. It was not for me. It was not what I was looking for. And I was just super frustrated with the inconvenient timings of things and how the lack of seriousness towards the plot. So I think it has been and was my only 1 star so far this year. Yeah, it was like my only 1 star this year. Another one that I thought was disappointing though was House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. I read this, I was curious about it, and I think it was a Literally Dead book club pick for last year that I wasn't able to get to, so I think I was able to get this through Libby and just kind of listen to it, and ultimately it was just very lackluster for me. It felt fairly insta-lovey and it wasn't as creepy as I had wanted it to be. I think it could have gone in a complete, it's not what I wanted really from this book. So biggest surprise, and honestly that would have to be, I also have multiple answers for this. So the first one would definitely have to be the Cursed Candy Mysteries, particularly Cutthroat Cupcakes by Kate Lawley. I did a full review of this series if you want to go check that out. But ultimately this is a cozy witch mystery series where our main character didn't know she was a witch and then got arrested by a handsome detective who investigates witches and wizards. So she then has to help with the investigation because it's her magic, and as well as learn about magic and the witch and wizard society. So I thought it was really fun. The romance could have been amped up a little further, but ultimately I really liked the banter and I thought it was ultimately a really fun series. So I was pleasantly surprised with that. How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. So this one I ended up giving 5 stars. I've read under Grady Hendrix before. I read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires and ultimately didn't rate it because I wasn't sure how to feel about it. It felt like that book in particular, he put a lot of things that people were afraid of and just mashed it up into a book. It gave me gross feels, ultimately an uncomfortable book, and I got rid of it as soon as I could, even though I loved the cover. So How to Sell a Haunted House, I was kind of hesitant about. I ended up listening to it because did I listen to it through Libro or Libby? I can't remember which, but ultimately knew I wasn't sure about it. And I typically go the audiobook route if I'm not sure about an author. So I listened to this and ultimately ended up enjoying it, mostly because I did enjoy the sibling dynamic. It was complicated and complex, and there was no real answers coming from it. I know that I've heard that they were kind of annoyed with the sibling dynamic. It was kind of over the top and not for them, but I felt it was very realistic. I also thought it was creepy as all hell, and I rated it 5 stars and got myself a physical copy. So that one was also a pleasant surprise to me. So I don't know how to feel about Grady Hendrix's work at this point. Favorite new author, debut or new to me. So I only call an author a favorite if I've read 3 or more of their books, and I would have to say that I did do a rapid fire reviews for Emily Henry, in which I have read 3 of her books. One of them I didn't like and 2 of them I really did like. So Emily Henry would have to be a new favorite author for me. I am very curious in what she comes out with next. I do have a hold on in my library through Libby for People We Meet on Vacation, because I ultimately really loved Book Lovers. I gave that 4 stars. Happy Place I gave 4.5 star, 4.75 star. That one will come up later. And ultimately I'm really intrigued with more of her writing, and will continue reading from her. So I think she's quickly becoming one of my favorite authors. So despite not liking one of her books, I'm very curious about more of her works. And then I also have re-solidified a favorite author of mine. So Elizabeth Acevedo. I know that I've mentioned her in a previous book tag that I've done, mid-year book freakout tag, because I've read all of her works before, but it's been a while because it's been a while since she's published anything. So I was able to get through Libro FM's advanced listener program the advanced listener copy of Family Lore. This is Elizabeth Acevedo's intro into adult fiction. Particularly, this is an adult contemporary fiction with magic realism elements, and I found it so refreshing and just so insightful. I really enjoyed it. It was just a nice cold glass of water. I didn't realize I was parched, and it just re-solidified that she is still continues to be one of my favorite authors. I also, like I said, I listened to this book, and it was really nice listening to Elizabeth Acevedo narrate her own book. Very much enjoyed it. If you are interested in Libro FM as an audiobook subscription, as an audiobook subscription service, I have my affiliate link down in the description down below if you ever want to check it out. It's where I tend to have it. It's a really cool program that is fairly similar to Audible, but is not owned by Amazon, and a lot of their proceeds go to independent bookstores that you can choose. Newest favorite character, and with Allie from Alice in Pages, would also say my least favorite character. I think my new favorite character would definitely have to be Amina from Amina, The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This was another book that I was pleasantly surprised at. It'll come up later too, I swear. I really enjoyed it, mostly because it's another like fantasy that I thought I was going to just completely go over my head, and it didn't, and I loved it. Another one that I had listened to and wasn't sure. I think I listened to this. I did buy it through Libro and then bought the special edition copy once I finished it because I enjoyed it that much. Amina as a character was feisty. She's an older protagonist, a retired pirate who ends up getting dragged out to do one last score to be able to set up her family for the rest of their lives, essentially. And I love her banter, I love her wit, I love the fact that she's an older protagonist, and ultimately it's been really fun. For some reason I have been lacking in terms of pushing it on all of you. So here's that. My least favorite character, I don't know if I necessarily have a least favorite character. Would have to say for my least favorite character, I didn't like the middle sister and Daisy Darker. I think that was the whole point. I mean, we're meant to feel for Daisy Darker and like see kind of how the secrets and the terribleness of her family, but the middle sister in particular I just could not handle. I didn't like her whatsoever. So I guess that's my least favorite character. A book that made me cry. Okay, first and foremost, the one that had me sobbing at work while I was listening to it was Happy Place by Emily Henry. This book was definitely exploring the emotions of a second chance romance in terms of like people having these assumptions about one another, but also having to communicate that and having to communicate their emotions despite thinking that the other person is happy, to overcome that fear, to be able to and get over your pride in order to try to understand what you want and understand the hurt that you have, as well as knowing that and understanding that people change, that you yourself can change, that despite what years of work towards a certain goal, that you still have the ability to change that goal no matter how far into that first original goal you had. I absolutely love this book. I said I gave it like a 4.75 7. And you know what? No. I think I did that because I'm like looking back on it now and going, was it really a 5? And I think it was, in all honesty, talking about it now. Yeah, like I said, I think this was another one that I got as an ALC through Libro FM, and I'm so happy that I did. Like I said, had me sobbing at work. That had me sobbing was Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. I do have a physical copy. I just don't know where it is at this current moment, but here is the photo. But yeah, this one particularly had me sobbing like an hour or so after I had finished the book, particularly the ending. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling it. So it definitely goes through grief and loss as we follow a character who has lost her sister as well as her grandmother, and just kind of gets confirmation that they are doing okay. And that, I can feel it. I talk more about this in my full review for Bad Cree if you want to go check that out, mostly because I talk about it a little more in depth there. So I highly suggest that. I'm trying to think. I don't think any others have made me cry, but those two in particular, when they made me cry, they made me sob. So the book that made me happy, Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, made me ultimately happy. I love the conversations in here, the found family trope, the romance in here was adorable, the kids in here were adorable. Ultimately, it was just a really good, cozy, witchy mystery with a romance element to it. I really did enjoy this. I loved how it made me feel. Alright, well, found Bad Cree and lost another book. So that is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. A book that I really enjoyed because we have plus size character who's really into entomology, and that like passion comes through, which was really fun. And she's also kind of awkward and like breaks the fourth wall a little bit, and it made me laugh a couple of times out loud. That one I think I gave 4 stars. The horror element was a little odd, but I ultimately love the quirkiness of the book as a whole. Most beautiful book you have bought so far this year or received. And I have a couple answers for this that I enjoy. Obviously, The Adventures of Amina El-Sarafi. This is the special edition. I think it's the Fairy Loot edition. I'm not too sure, but it's gold foil, first off, on the dust jacket. Gorgeous sprayed edges, more foil, and fantastic end pages, plus a map, more gorgeous end pages, as well as gold foiling on the naked cover. I mean, yeah, I can't. When the book originally came out, I was really debating between the US cover and the UK cover, and ultimately when I saw this edition, and I was like, okay, you know what, let me read the book and see which one I feel like is like the true cover of this. And after I read it and realized how much I enjoyed it, I just went ahead for this one. I believe this is like the UK cover, but like on steroids. So, I mean, I briefly had talked about the gorgeous cover of Dragonfall. Love it. This is not a special edition at all. This is just, I mean, even like the naked hardcover doesn't have anything on it, but that is gorgeous. I really wish I could find my copy of A House with Good Bones, because this one I actually really enjoyed too of the cover. Also, not a special edition, just a regular book, which I also love. One that I've shown off a couple times and had actually originally found up in Oregon when we took a trip up there, but I didn't order it until I came back, was Botanical Curses and Poisons, The Shadow Lives of Plants by Fez Inkwright. And this is a nonfiction, and it's the most gorgeous nonfiction I have ever freaking seen. Copper foiling, gorgeous illustrations, and like fun end papers. So those are the books that I'm super like just in love with right now. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? All of them. All of them. To give you a more specific answer, I would like to be able to finish the Temeraire series by the end of the year, because I would love to be able to like have that full series review, but also just to be able to say that I read a 9-book series in the year of 2023 would be fantastic. I would also like to finally get through all of the little short stories of the Newsflash series by Mira Grant. I feel like I was talking this that series was the talk of 2022 for me. I had talked about it nonstop, and I still have not completed all of it just because there's so many short stories to go along with it. And it turns out that the bind up that I had didn't even have the main story in there, the main books in there. It was just filled with short stories, so I still need to get through all of that and get the physical copies of the actual books for the series. Yeah, I think it's just like completing those those particular series I would like to be able to complete. I think I would feel really happy to be able to do that, as well as finishing up my 23 of 2023, which is a video series that I've been doing here on my channel. There's the announcement if you want to go check it out, but it's basically 23 books that I would like to read in 2023. So far I've been doing pretty okay. I'm a little behind at this point, but it's basically just 3 books I got to kind of just fill in how I wanted, and then the rest of the 20 books were randomly generated from my Goodreads TBR. A favorite video or a post that you've done so far this year? I don't know. I've been happy with some of the vlogs I've been coming out with. I know I can do better on them, but I'm just happy that that's been a constant this year. I've been really happy about. The same with just reviewing books in general and putting them out. I've been really excited about, but ultimately I've just been loving my Pokemon Crush Choose My TBR videos, just because I get to look up Pokemon cries and download them and put, like, it's just, I have been loving it. So I don't know, I've just been happy that I've been sticking with this. I know that there's been a couple days where I've either missed because I was just out of commission for one reason or another, and but otherwise the fact that I've been constantly uploading on Wednesdays and Sundays have been really just nice. I'm really proud of myself for that. So favorite book community members. I'm terrible at supporting others. I am so sorry. Terrible at reaching out, at commenting on other folks. I am lucky that I remember to like videos, but I will watch them like no other. There's been a couple of booktubers that you probably already are aware of because they are fairly popular here on YouTube, and I talk about them a bunch, and that is Jan from Jan Agaton, Steph from Stephanie Bookish, Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte, Sid from Sid Bookworm, I think is her channel, and then Allie from Allison Pages. They've all been like keeping me afloat in the days that like I just need something to watch or listen to that a book's just not doing it. So yeah, they have been my favorite, so go check them out if you haven't not. And of course Kayla from Books and Lala is like an obvious one, I feel like. So definitely go check them out if you haven't already. And that is the end of the sorry, not end of the year. Oh my god, not there yet. Mid-year book freakout tag. I would love to know your favorite books of so far in 2023, whether it's one that you read that you really loved and you just want more people to read, or one that you like love the cover of. If you made it this far, let's go ahead and put a skull. Why not? For that there. Let's put a skull. Otherwise, be sure to like this video, subscribe if you want to see more of me, and I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading. I hope to see you in another video very soon. Cheers.